Okay, let's try this again. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Say hello when you are live. And let's go ahead and get us going live on Facebook as well and Zoom. Say hello and where you're from while we're getting going here. And let's see, I think we're almost there. All right, welcome everyone. Happy to be here with all of you today. Say hello in the chat so I know who is here. Let me know who's here, where you're from. I'm super excited to be here with all of you today. Apologies for a couple of minutes late here. I was having trouble getting live on Facebook and I wanted to make sure to catch everybody. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Today we're going to be talking about aligning your soul's blueprint and elevating your protection tools amidst the collective chaos. We're going to be talking about shifting into your highest timeline through personal empowerment and healing and really developing your natural inherent gifts. We're also going to be talking about the differences between energetic protection with the methods of what I call the turtle and the peacock. So I'll share more about that. We're going to talk about liberating your energetic, your repeating cycles that might limit your happiness or living your soul's path. We're going to talk about activating your gifts, harnessing your gifts really so that you don't have to be overwhelmed by your own personal chaos or the chaos of the collective, and really how that can be used as a catalyst to really align with your higher timeline. And you're also going to experience a connection, a journey, and a tool really that I use to help shift into your higher timeline and to really anchor into clear decision making, especially when sometimes a lot of fear gets triggered. It can be a little bit hard to figure out which path to take, which direction to take. So I'm going to share a tool about that. And I'll also share a way that you can go deeper in learning how to heal and develop your spiritual gifts if you feel so compelled to do so. So say hello as you're joining here. Hello, Jackie from Vermont. We have Tamara from Texas, Shannon from Georgia, Lisa from North Texas. Awesome. Catherine from France, Katie Buffalo, Maryland with Christine, Jack from Boston. Awesome. All right. Well, welcome everybody. I'm super excited to be here with all of you. If you're new to me, welcome. I know I see a lot of familiar faces as well. So I want to just take a moment to start with setting our intentions, right? Part of this workshop is my intention is to give you an energetic shift. We're going to give you lots of tools and awarenesses through our conversation, but I also want to give you a tool, right? Tools to really get in alignment with your higher path and purpose and really kind of get clear on what is your next step? What is your highest path? Where are you being guided to go? And how to really work with some of the fears and doubts that might be stopping you. So let's just take a moment together and just tune in to your heart and to your body and just close your eyes for a moment if you can. And just tune into your body and your breath and just feel that connection as you slow the mind down and really focus in on the rise and fall of your chest. And exhale. Another nice deep breath in. And exhale. Beautiful. So just take a moment to feel that connection that you have with your body through your breath. Feel that connection with the earth that you have beneath your feet. Just allowing that connection to the earth to help you be grounded and centered and present in this here and now moment so that you can really get the most out of our time together. Really inviting in that connection to your higher self, right? You're always in truth connected to your higher self and the earth. But when we make these conscious connections, it amplifies our conscious awareness of that. And that is really your manifestation power, right? That's your conscious creative power, is to be grounded, aligned, and connected above and below. And really inviting that connection even beyond your higher self into that highest truth of who we are, that divine consciousness of all that is. And as you do this, you start to step out of the mind, step out of the ego, and into this higher perspective. You start to tap into that 5D aspect of self where the big shifts, the quantum shifts, and that alignment to your higher path and purpose can be more clear and accessible. And so from this space, I want you to just first set your intention to just align with your highest path, your highest timeline, whatever that might be, whatever's available to you at this point in time. Beautiful. And just notice, what is it that you feel called to create or manifest in this world at this time? Right? Sometimes when we connect in this way, sometimes you're already tuned in to the larger goal or purpose that you have that you're working towards, right? And we can have many different aspirations in our personal life, our careers, but just really tune into that highest timeline and notice, what is it that you desire to create? What is your soul and your heart calling you towards? And just start to envision that and feel that, whether you're visual or not, just with your intention, feel that in your body, in your heart, with your intention, with your imagination. And just be in that embodiment of experiencing the manifestation of who you're stepping into, what it is you're creating next. And just notice, how do you feel? Are you standing tall? Are you happy? Are you feeling confident? Right? Maybe you're leading groups. If you're thinking about your purpose work, maybe you feel called to write a book. Or maybe this is just your own personal growth, right? Of happiness and healing, which is at the core of everything. Your whole alignment to your own connection of self. And just notice how you're being shown to show up, right? And notice how you are showing up. Beautiful. So just anchoring into that for a few minutes, into that feeling, and just noticing what's coming to your mind, what thoughts, ideas, or visions are coming to you, or actively using your imagination to be in the embodiment of a dream or a goal that you already have, and just be in that space for a moment. Beautiful. Sometimes I like to ask myself in this space, what is the next step I can do to work and to manifest this particular aspect of my life? Start to ask, what are the steps you can take today, right? 'Cause sometimes it's just the small steps. Sometimes they're big ones, sometimes they're small ones, but they all get you to where you're going one step at a time. So just trust any thoughts, feelings, or ideas that come to you. And if they don't come to you in this moment, just because I know this is a short version, just trust that the synchronicities will come to you throughout the day, through an epiphany, an aha, through a conversation we might have in our call today, through a dream perhaps tonight. And just trust that your message is going to come to you in the perfect time, in the perfect way. And so it is. All right. Beautiful. You can open your eyes if you had them closed. And now with, awareness is our power, right? And so from a space of non-judgment, just purely awareness, right? I want you to notice, or if you have a pen and paper, you can even write down, first of all, what came up, and you can share in the chat as well. I'd love to hear what is your vision, right? What is your next step? What is it that you feel called to create? What is it that you were tapping into as you really tuned into your higher soul's path, right? If you're aware of what that is, you can share in the comments. I always love to hear and come back to comments and read through them. And then at the same time, make those notes for yourself, especially if something new came to you, but also just having the awareness of, with a non-judgmental space, but just from awareness is our power, what fears or doubts or habits, right, that you might perceive as an obstacle from where you are now, who you're being and showing up now versus where you want to go, right? What is it that you perceive or feel could be an obstacle for you in terms of where you are now with where you want to be? That is a really important awareness question to have and to check into from time to time. And again, not from a space of being hard on self at all, from a space of choosing to open up to healing and to transformation, right? To choosing to recognize and take our power back and being the conscious creator that we are, right? Otherwise, we let our fears and our doubts drive our creative process. We're powerful beings. We create. We're creating all the time, whether we're conscious of it or not. But the more conscious of it we are, the more we get to take the reins of our life and be the leader in our life, be the leaders in our business, and really show up and share our gifts. If you feel, I know a lot of people who are called to me feel called to share their gifts in the world, or perhaps you've just recently gone through a spiritual awakening and you know that what your life was isn't working for you, and you're not quite sure of the path of where you're going, right? All of that is really where I support people the most, is really aligning with what are your next steps that might be different. And so oftentimes there's a level of fear or a belief or a habit that is creating a dissonance of that alignment between where we are now and where we're going. Let me know if that makes sense. I love it. I believe I'm going to create a new healing modality. I love it. Teaching Reiki shares and community events. Awesome. I love that. Leading groups, Kelly says. Amazing. I love it. Amazing. And it's what's beautiful is as we heal and walk our highest path in alignment for ourselves, as we align with our higher path and purpose, for those of you that feel called to share our gifts with the others in the world, the most important relationship is that alignment with self, right? That's what allows us the confidence and the alignment and the awareness and the ability to embody what it is we're here to teach to make the real impact. But it's also just allowing, like, as you do this work for others, you're also healing yourself. And that's a beautiful gift. As we're healing others, we're healing ourselves. And so as we're teaching others, we're teaching ourselves. We're always growing and evolving. And so it's this really beautiful symbiotic balance that gets to happen when we are really showing up in alignment and in service in that way. So that is awesome. So knowing where you want to go is important. And also knowing what it is that's kind of the gap between where we're going is very important, because once we have that information, we can choose to take our power back. We can choose to make changes. We can choose to shift the things that are not serving us, or that we're afraid to take action on, in order to really embody and live that dream that is there for you, right? That is definitely there for you. Just see if I don't know if I can adjust the camera there, but all right. So I hope that that helps. I know for me, I've had lots of times in my life where I think we're always constantly growing and evolving, right? Sometimes we'll have our first initial big dark night of the soul where we go from unconscious to conscious. But I know for me, I've had many different times and iterations of having to move through fear. And that's usually coming up against our own fears and doubts and patterns and family programming and societal judgments and things like that. That's usually at the core of what is holding us out of alignment from really showing up and shining as our highest and truest self. I definitely moved through a lot of fear. First, I had these patterns of unhealthy, really abusive, just unhealthy relationships, right? I kept dating different people, and then somehow they started out seeming very different, and then they always ended up being the same pattern. And I had that all the way through my 20s, from 18 all the way till 32, when I had my awakening. And at that time, I finally realized, what is the common denominator here? Like, why am I allowing it? Now, it's never to say that we deserve these things, but I was allowing myself to be treated in a way that was less than acceptable, really, right? I was allowing this to happen by staying in these relationships, even though at the time it kind of felt like I didn't have a choice. Some of you might relate to that in different ways, whether it's in a job, right? I've had that in jobs as well, where I've stayed in an environment where I wasn't feeling appreciated or valued, working really hard, giving more than I was receiving. That same pattern of codependency was happening in my relationships, but in a very toxic and abusive type of a way. And so I started noticing after this awakening, and all I could do really was numb through alcohol and food. I was like, I don't know. I didn't know anything about this stuff at the time, nothing about meditation or the fact that I had a choice. I felt very powerless, and that's not a fun place to be. So if you're feeling that way, I just want you to know that you're not alone. If you feel ever powerless or victim in your circumstances, it's not really true, because we do have a choice. As long as we face our fears, we're able to make those choices and shift our life very quickly. And at the same time, sometimes we have to learn these kinds of tools. But through that process of really doing the self-healing and realizing, because in those types of relationships where there was a lot of lying and deception happening, I started to not trust myself. I didn't understand that I had intuition that was guiding me. I was kind of ignoring those things. And because of that, I didn't feel I had a lot of options for a long time. And then once I started doing the deeper healing work and recognizing my part within it and that my worthiness was deserving of being treated differently, and I started really holding up my boundaries and trusting my intuition and developing my intuition, everything really changed. I realized actually a lot of why I stayed in these circumstances was I was confused between my feelings and their feelings. You can tell me if you can relate to any of that. Have you ever been confused about what is your feelings versus somebody else's, right? This can be in relationships with others romantically. It could be feeling afraid to go after your purpose work or come out as a healer, right? That was another thing I went through. My family was very conservative, religious upbringing. And so they didn't understand the spiritual path of me, of what my path was leading me towards, right? And so there's a lot of fear about what my parents would think, or having, disappointing them, or bringing shame to the family on some level. There's a lot of fear about coming out as a spiritual teacher, right? Because it was not the same belief system that they had. And I have a good relationship with my parents. And so there's all these times in life where we can allow outside influences and fear to override what our higher self, what our intuition, what our guides, what our whole heart, what our soul is guiding us to do. But it really ultimately is always in our control. We get to choose, right? And so I'm going to work with you a little bit today and teaching a little bit about some of the ways that you can help yourself really align with this higher path and be clear about what your truth is, and really start to shift some of those fears so that you can take action on them. All right. Because you are being called. If you're here, I know you're being called to a higher service, right? Whether it's for yourself and or for others. So let me know if that makes sense. I believe that your intuition is your higher self. Your guides, your angels pointing you in the direction of your highest good. Absolutely. I agree with that. Yes, being an empath is confusing, right? It can be really confusing at times, in part because I think what I've noticed with empaths is a lot of common patterns with codependency, sometimes addictions for numbing, disconnecting from our body in some ways. It's kind of like it goes either one way or the other, where we're confused about what our truth is, right? For a long time, I stayed in a relationship with somebody because I would, like, from one day to the next, oh, I want to be in this relationship. No, I don't. Yes, I do. No, I don't. I was getting very confused. I'm going to teach you an exercise at the end, actually, that will help with clarifying decisions by trusting your body's wisdom, which I use a lot of times when my fear and my mind gets in the way. But I would go through that and I realized, oh, this is when I started learning about energy cords, like being enmeshed with somebody else, where his truth was he wanted to stay, but I didn't. And it was conflicting, right? And so I was taking both of those as my own, and then didn't make any decisions to change things for a long time, right? And so until I really recognized what is my energy, what is my truth versus somebody else's, and then to have the courage to really choose what's best in alignment for me is actually in the highest alignment for everyone around you. Us staying in relationships, whether it's a job or a personal relationship or a friendship that's not actually serving each other, is keeping both people stuck and out of alignment. When we are in alignment with a higher truth and path and purpose, there's room for everybody else to be in their higher path and purpose as well. It's when we sort of betray ourselves in a sense and stay at a lower vibration to please others, or to not upset people, or to not rock the boat, or out of fear of what people's judgment will be, or whatever it might be, then we're actually limiting both people, staying stuck in that kind of a patterning. Does that make sense? But really, being an empath is amazing. I wouldn't give it up for the world. It really can be your greatest gift. But I think one of the things we're going to talk about in just a minute about the turtle and the peacock method is about knowing what your energy field is versus others. Having clear energetic boundaries is really one of the first steps and most liberating thing an empath or highly sensitive or intuitive person can do, because otherwise we're just open and picking up on so many things in the world. And there's so much fear and chaos in the collective happening, right? There's so much fear and judgment within our society, right? Within our households, even with our loved ones, that we can get really confused and overwhelmed. But when we are grounded, when we have clear connection to ourselves, when we are aligned with our higher self, we can have an open channel. Our intuition's already tapped in. We already have that connection to our intuition. Now, we can all develop our gifts as well. If you don't feel you're intuitive right now, trust that we all are intuitive. Our intuition is simply our conscious awareness of our communication to the unseen, to our higher self, to our angels, to our guides, to the universe, right? It's our conscious awareness of that communication that's happening, that larger truth of who you are. And so we all have these gifts. And as sensitives and empaths, we actually have them pretty hardwired in. It's so jumbled up with everybody else's energy that we either disconnect, numb out, or don't trust it, or shut it off on some way through numbing and through different types of addictions a lot of times. So the key is when we learn to manage our energy, ground our energy, then we can start to build that trust with our intuition. How or when will you know what your calling is, like your life purpose? I think that is something that evolves over time. It's not going to be a cut and dry answer for each person, but I think the biggest key is spending time with self, like doing your level of meditation and grounding tools. I know you have the energetic mastery tools from the Soul Success Unleashed program, and so use those tools daily, because when we start to connect and commune with ourselves in a quiet way that's not with the demands and the expectations and the to-dos of the world, or our fears or our monkey minds, right? We have to get to a space first and foremost that we can clear that out, tune into our body and our heart, really connect with our truth, right? Connect with our higher self and our truth. And when we start living that truth and following those little breadcrumbs, you'll start to naturally be called and be more clear about what your purpose work is. Now, the other aspect of this, I would say, is follow your joy, follow your passions, follow, sometimes a part of finding your purpose work is through seeking and healing, right? Part of our spiritual journey first starts with our own healing and seeking journey. So take a class that you're interested in. What is it that speaks to your heart, speaks to your joy? Is there a cause that you feel very strongly about that you want to help make a change within, right? And so things that we're very passionate and joyful or excited about is good. Using your curiosity to lean into what things are calling you, right? What things speaks to your heart. That's good. And I think, so those two things is where I would really start. And then knowing that as you grow and evolve and heal, your purpose work grows and evolves and heals too. Just recently, I've been teaching online for a long time. I switched my career, started as a hairdresser and makeup artist, had my spiritual awakening, danced in both worlds for a while. And then for quite some time now, I've been full-time in my spiritual work. So my purpose work really changed. I was being of service before, but in a different way. I was called to do teaching, right? And now, just this year, I started leading retreats, right? Destination retreats. So now my purpose work is starting to shift again, traveling with people. So as we're growing and evolving, we want to always stay tapped into ourselves, because that's why I think the exercise we did in the beginning of just like tuning into what is my highest timeline, my path and purpose, and where am I being called? Because sometimes we can just not take the time to check in and not realize that we're going towards a goal that may no longer be in alignment, right? And sometimes we have to have the courage to let those things go in order to open up to what we're actually being called to. Yes. So let me know if that makes sense. But yeah, great question. And I'm sure that a lot of people have that, but that's really what I would start with. Okay. So let's talk about the energetics of protection, because this is important. This is about being a sensitive and empath. So I had this vision of like the turtle and the peacock in terms of how to describe this. So the turtle protection is it's an outdated model, right? And I think it comes a lot of times that's rooted in fear. It's rooted in when we just don't have any other tools or knowledge, kind of as a coping mechanism, if you will. And what that will look like is like a turtle, right? Kind of like shrinking. And I love turtles, by the way. I think in a lot of ways they're very beautiful, but just like the image of like a turtle going into his shell with a hard exterior, right? Retreating, hiding, shrinking the energy. It's rooted in fear. It's rooted in overwhelm, and it's shielding from survival mode. It's shielding your energy from fear. It's trying to block everybody out from a fear-based position, right? Which is kind of stunting your energy field. It's limiting your light, right? It's limiting your light. And what it does is it actually works against us in a lot of ways. One thing, it lowers our vibration because it's rooted in fear. But then also when we are vibrating in this fear base of, I need protection, and sometimes I think people can even call on their angels and guides. I would still say using your angels and guides for bubble of protection could be helpful, but it's much more powerful when you're using it from an empowered position versus I can't do this on my own, I need help. And we're doing it from a very blocking, fear-based position. It will attract more things to be afraid of. Fear attracts fear. So fear starts to, when we're in that position, we start to attract more things to be afraid of or to be frustrated or fearful of. And so I think just recognizing, how are your energy tools working for you? Are they working for you or against you? Now, the peacock protection, right, is more of an empowered method, right? It's coming from a place of radiating your frequency, of confidently expressing your authentic self and your gifts, right? It's holding loving boundaries with more grace and energetic sovereignty, right? And so you can see how that energy, it raises your vibration. So the turtle mode, when we protect and we block, we're doing a couple of things. How it works against us besides that is that, yeah, I think another core wound that a lot of empaths and sensitives have, and people in my community have, is feeling misunderstood, feeling like the outcast, feeling like people aren't really seeing you, feeling invisible, right? Those are all core wounds that I think that happens a lot in our circle. And this protection mode of protecting in this way from a blocked position actually feeds that problem, because people cannot see or feel your energy. So in some ways, we're perpetuating that cycle of not being seen, being misunderstood, right? The feeling like the outcasts are different can come from our spiritual gifts, but that whole feeling not seen, feeling invisible, feeling like the outcast, it gets exasperated when we're blocking our energy because people can't really feel your essence. You're not showing your true essence. Does that make sense? And so it actually starts to work more and more against you. It compounds in a way that just perpetuates that fear energy and that disempowered feeling, right? The feeling of not being seen. Actually, that could be quite painful. Yet when we are in the peacock protection mode, right, the empowered mode of shining our light, we're elevating our energy, we're expressing our truth. That means we're actually embodying and working with our higher self. We're working with our angels and guides. We're working with that highest truth of who we are. We're connecting with our divine nature, the highest truth of who we are. And we're elevating and we're letting our energy and our light shine outward. That does protect your energy as well, because you're raising your vibration beyond fear. You're raising it into the love, into the joy, into feeling empowered, right? Into just knowing the confidence that I have the body, so I have the power. Nobody can really infiltrate my energy unless I allow it. Now, that can be a tough pill to swallow as an empath when it doesn't feel that way. But the reality is that's true. But you have to have the confidence and belief in that in order to uphold your energy field in a higher vibration. And when you do this, fear will dissipate, right? It's kind of like it can't even really come into your field. The lower vibrations of fear and heaviness and all that stuff from other people really can't come through, but the love can pass through. People will start to notice you and see you because your energy is lit up, right? You're actually allowing yourself to be seen. So I hope that makes sense. I very much like the peacock perspective. It makes so much sense. Awesome. I love that. This explanation of blocking energy resonates. Yay. That's awesome. Yeah. It's the first time I've really taught it like this. It's the same core way that I've talked about energy, and the way that I teach energetic protection tools is from this perspective. But yeah, this is the first time I shared like that metaphor. So I'm glad that's resonating because I thought it was a very clear picture for me. And so when you shift from the turtle to the peacock, that's key, right? And aligning to your higher timeline and elevating to your service work, to your purpose work. Because again, when you are aligned, embodying and expressing your higher truth of who you are, which ultimately is the peacock mode, right? That is also when you're naturally tapped into your intuition. You're connected in with your joy. You're connected in with your purpose work. You're feeling very clear, right? From that perspective, you're able to begin to move towards who it is you're being called to be, who your soul came to be, right? We all have a soul's blueprint. We all had an agreement before being incarnated and born that we wanted to grow and evolve through. And so that's another perspective that I want to talk about, is liberating yourself from old patterns, because this is something that we have to get really good at, especially if you're choosing the path of service work and being in your purpose work, or just the fact that you're here tells me you've gone through a level of spiritual awakening. And that's not for the faint of heart. You're an old soul. You have tools in your tool belt. If you've gotten yourself to have this awareness and consciousness, then you are here purposefully to work through certain patterns. And I think this is an important perspective as well. So we're going to talk about identifying repeating patterns and how liberation of these comes through the awareness and healing. Okay. So the first step is that you have to be able to identify the patterns. I'm going to give you a 4-step process in a moment. But there's repeating patterns that come through our ancestral line, through karmic patterns, maybe that we've chose from other lifetimes, subconscious, these loopings, right? That just kind of the beliefs that are happening, whether it's conscious or unconscious patterns, right? Of beliefs, fears, things like this drive this. It's kind of like these kinds of things keep you stuck in, I'm almost aligned with my purpose work, or I'm almost feeling more like myself, but I'm not quite actually being the true version of myself, right? So I'm not actually fully on my path. Like there's something there that's keeping a little bit of a dissonance. And so again, the liberation comes through the awareness of these patterns. And so the first step is, first of all, looking at when you come across things that are tough, because we're going to be moving through our comfort zone a lot, right? On this healing journey and aligning with your higher soul's path. Your soul came in with a purpose. It chose your family for specific reasons. It kind of chose the trials and tribulations, the core themes that you're going to evolve through. And so the first half of our life often can be a bit tumultuous. It can be a bit intense, right? Because that's kind of where we're in the muck of things. But the powerful thing is, now that you've gone through a level of awakening, you can start to have the self-awareness and learn the tools to liberate yourself from these things. That's what you're meant to do, not stay stuck in these things, but to transform these patterns and fears. And when you align with your higher path and purpose, I'll tell you, building my spiritual business is the hardest spiritual work I've ever done in some ways, but at the same time, it's the most rewarding and fulfilling. So I wouldn't change it, but it's definitely I've had to get good at feeling my fear and doing it anyways, feeling my fear, moving it out and taking action, so you're in this constant, it's kind of the universe never ceases to surprise me and how amazing it can how amazing and this whole process is of evolution. Because it's like, in order to really live your higher path and purpose, you have to you will constantly be healing and aligning yourself to higher frequencies. So you'll constantly be elevating your own conscious awareness in order to really be fully and stay consistently aligned and growing in your purpose work and really making the impact that you're born for. So as you're making the impact you're born for, you're actually also liberating yourself on a spiritual level and ascending your energy, right? So they work hand in hand. And so when we feel stuck, we have to look at these things as an opportunity of healing and growth. Look at these things as, it's not the universe doing it to you, right? Your fear is attracted it. Your pattern's attracting. Your soul's kind of saying, okay, now this is the lesson we need to work on. So let's magnify it through this relationship, right? Or through this pattern, so that you can become aware of it. Because the first step of the 4-step process is being aware, right? Having the awareness. You have to have the awareness. And so when things are not working well, if you can start to shift just that perspective that life is happening for me, never against me, right? That's something a mentor of mine had said. And I love that. Life is always, universe and life is always working for me, never against me. That's really important to take on board, because then you have the power to change it, right? Because awareness, and I would say awareness then requires the willingness. So step 2 is self-responsibility is your point of power. Right? If we're blaming outside of ourselves, I remember my aunt used to say, when you're pointing your finger at somebody, there's 3 fingers pointing back at you, right? And it's sort of like a similar lesson in this. It's like, if we're blaming the government, we're blaming our parents, or we're blaming our partner, or we're blaming whatever, right? When we're pointing outside of ourselves, well, then we don't have the power to change things, right? We're kind of in the energy of blame. But when we start to have the awareness and we take that responsibility and go, what's my point of alignment with this? What is my opportunity of transformation? What is my opportunity of growth here? We really get to take our power back. In that moment, we've taken our power back, because now we're going to do the deeper work. Now we're going to say, okay, the 3rd step is really getting to the root of the situation, getting to the root feeling, the root cause, the belief, the pattern, the habit, whatever's going on that's driving what's not working well for us, right? That's being spotlighted for us, right? And then we have to have the decision. We have to have the 4th step, really, which is the decision to change that, right? We have to have the decision to take the courage to make a new choice, or a decision that's in aligned and in integrity with your higher self. And so that could look like having an uncomfortable conversation with somebody. It can look like standing your ground and having a boundary. It can look like deciding that you are going to have a talk about, maybe you feel you deserve a promotion at your job, or you're going to start looking at a place for a business that is appreciating you more, or going to pay you for what you feel your value is, right? If you're not feeling appreciated. So it's going to usually lead to something that's outside of your comfort zone, which is why The step 3 is so important of getting to the root feeling, the root situation, and doing the inner healing work there so that you could, the change, then taking that step of the change through the fear can be easier. Does that make sense? So let me know if that makes sense. But that's really important because you have to learn how to shift your energy, right? And move through fear, because your higher path, your bigger dreams and goals are always going to be on the other side of fear. Another one can be, I think a lot of us will go through as sensitives and empaths, especially, as this fear. One of my biggest fears was public speaking. I mean, so much so that in high school, I convinced my teachers, I was like a quiet honor student. I convinced them to let me do my oral reports before and after school because I was like, I'm not doing it. And I realized now a lot of that, my fear of public speaking. So then when I started seeing that my purpose work was speaking and teaching, people and, all of this kind of stuff, I'm like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. Right. And that's what I know I'm arguing for my fears, is when I start arguing with my angels. I was like, wait, what? No, that's like way down the road. And they're like, well, not really. It's up to you. I mean, if you want to prolong your peace and happiness, right, you can. But when we're aligned with our higher path and purpose, we have to know that it's going to bring us joy. It's going to bring us abundance. It's going to bring us health, like all of the things, health, wealth, joy, abundance, and fulfillment all come from that space. So it is always free will of choice to push it off, but that's letting fear drive our life, right? And so learning how to get good at identifying things, taking that personal responsibility and saying, okay, I have the power to choose, get through the feelings and the fears and the patterns that might be stopping you from taking action. And then with that healing, you're going to be able to take the easier action. It still might be a little scary. Like I was petrified doing videos at first, for sure. But I did it because I knew that's what I was being called to do. My fear of public speaking, I should say my lack of fulfillment from not living my purpose was bigger than my fear of speaking, is when I started to actually put myself out there and do videos. And then I started doing videos, doing oracle card reading, which totally triggered my family. I'm like, oh, it never ends, right? But it keeps growing. It keeps growing in terms of the things that we'll have to move through. But it's definitely worth it. And you definitely are powerful enough to have it, right? And this is really where freedom comes. This is where clarity emerges. This is where you can stop looping into the fear-based patterns and start leading and really step up into being a conscious creator that you are, right? By living your higher path, activating your multidimensional gifts, harnessing and leveraging your intuition, right? As a guidance system, because that's what it is. It's a guidance system showing you one step at a time exactly what to do. You don't have to have it figured out. You just have to have the willingness to anchor into that higher path and timeline and take the 1 or 2 steps at a time and do the healing work along the way so that you can keep moving forward instead of staying stuck and stagnant in a cycle that's rooted in fear. So that's that. Hope that makes sense. So let me know if that helps too, because I think shining the light of awareness is huge, because if we don't have the awareness or the willingness to accept responsibility to change things, then we're going to stay stuck for years or lifetimes, right? Sometimes people stay stuck for years or lifetimes. We all probably know people that we go, wow, they haven't changed hardly. And it's no judgment, but it's like their life is still exactly the same 20 years ago as it is now. They're still complaining about the same things, or they're still in the same, circumstances or whatever. And maybe they're happy with it. Maybe they're not. That's not really relevant, because each person has their own path. But I bet that if you look at your life, if you're in a group like this, you've changed probably quite a bit, right? Like it got to a point where I'm like, wow, I don't even recognize who I was, because I've shed so many layers of the masks that I was wearing through the fear, through the patterns, and through the things that I've come to evolve through, and still doing so, right? The work doesn't end, right? It just gets easier because we have more confidence and tools. So things that might derail you for years might only take an hour or a day, right? Or a shorter period of time, because you're able to move through the process when you learn the tools to start to own your own, manage your own energy, and transmute the fears and blocks that are happening, and developing your intuition. Like those are all the things that are going to help you be the person you were born to be, right? The potential that you are here to be. Just because we have the potential to live a higher path and purpose, we have free will of choice. So it doesn't mean it's guaranteed because it's written in our astrology. means it's available, but it's not guaranteed. We have to choose it over and over and over again. But it will be the most rewarding and fulfilling thing that you'll do. This explanation of blocking energy resonates. Oh, good. That was from the peacock one and the turtle. Shedding so many masks and layers through relationships and job changing. Absolutely. Congratulations, because it's sometimes change is not, doesn't seem like the easier route. But in reality, for me, staying stuck in my old world wouldn't be possible. Like that would actually be more crippling to me now. Where when I first started my journey, it was very scary to make these changes. Now I'm just like, oh my gosh, I couldn't even, I would have felt so straitjacketed, right? All right, so let's talk a little bit about developing your multidimensional gifts, which we all have. What's really powerful about this, I mean, there's so many things about your gifts that are powerful for sure, right? Because they give you the awareness, your connection to your higher self, your angels and guides to get your intuition. But being able to channel or intuitive decision making is really how you get to live as a conscious creator. We all have these gifts. It's who you are. It's just like a muscle that you have to develop. And I think for sensitives and empaths, as I've mentioned, one of the most key components is the initial phase of meditation, clearing your energy and recognizing the energetic boundaries in a way that's serving you and empowering you, because otherwise we will feel like our filter's too mucked up. Either we're so disconnected from our body that we're not able to manifest things into form, right? A lot of empaths, when I look clairvoyantly, they're out of their body because it's not comfortable, or they're just dipping into these upper chakras because there's so much of their own pain and grief or other people's energy in their field that it's just not comfortable to be there, which is where a lot of the addictive patterns come in as well. Not everybody has to be in addiction patterns, but a lot of sensitives go through something like that in some form or fashion. But there's a disconnection, which makes it very difficult to manifest because we are in a 3D world. We chose to have these bodies. It's exciting. It's a gift to have these bodies. There's a lot of things that we can do having a body that we can't do in spirit. We get to experience joy, pleasure, food tastes, sensations. Like there's a lot of gifts to being human beings. And I think a lot of times I hear empaths and sensitives like, I can't wait to get out of this body. It's like, no, our body's a gift. When we can learn for everything to be working together, that's when the magic happens, right? And then the other aspect is developing the intuition, because that is really where you're going to get your next steps. That's where you're going to get your downloads of ideas. That's how I got the downloads for my programs that I teach, right? I was doing my meditation. Some mornings you're just grounding and clearing your energy, just doing basic intention setting for the day. And other days, after doing that for a few days in a row, like you'll get a whole download of a whole idea. I got a whole program idea that was really a 6 months worth of content, like just came out in my journal. Now it took me several months or maybe even longer to make that into anything, but that's where we make space for the downloads to come in, right? That's where people start creating and getting modalities given to them, or where they start, feeling called to channel books or different things like that, right? It's coming through soul-led service. But really, it's not just in the spiritual arts. Think of how exciting it's going to be as we start to have a generation that is becoming more open to their gifts, who aren't being shut down because they have conscious parents, right? Conscious parenting is one of the most special gifts we can have, right? To give our children. I didn't wake up in time. My daughter is aware, like we have a strong soul agreement, but she was 13 by the time I woke up. But to me, it's very exciting to see a lot of like very conscious parents having children, because they won't have to go through as much undoing as some of us had to do in our generation and older, right? And then we'll have people in the government who are tapped into their intuition, people in the school systems and the medical system. Wouldn't you love if your doctor was also intuitive, right? Like if there's never a time that we wouldn't want to be connected to our intuition, right? It's only always going to serve us, whether you're working in a feel called to a spiritual business or not. It's about you aligning with you in the highest way forward. And it will help you be the best of whatever it is that you're here to do, right? Art, right? All kinds of things. So your gifts really allow you to see your path, right? They allow you to know your steps, which will allow you to take action that creates quantum leaps. This is where you see people all the time online having such big shifts. And it's like, well, how did they defy logic and create businesses earning 6 figures and however long? Now, I'm not going to say to me that was an easy process. It took me a while, but sometimes people have these big shifts. I have over doubled my income in an annual salary before. Actually, it was increasing 25% very consistently, even through all the COVID stuff. So it's like the limitations that might normally be there based on beliefs or what people think or what the patterns or how we used to do things doesn't get to stop us in the same way as the opportunities that we have now to just elevate and move through at what seems like a rapid pace because we're tapped into our intuition. It doesn't have to take as much effort. It does take work. So I'm not going to say it doesn't take work, because it does, but it won't feel like work when you're doing what you love and what you're meant to do. Not in the same way. Like, you're going to feel lit up about it. You're going to be wanting to do it. And it can manifest itself very quickly. Things are happening faster and faster. And the key is being tapped in and following your intuition, because that will give you the shortcut. That will give you the quantum shift. Your logic in your mind is important, but if we only follow that, it's going to take a lot longer, right? Where you might not believe it's possible, right? You might not get going to begin with, because we'll be stuck in how, and what about the job security, or what about this, or what about other people think. Like, all those types of things are rooted in fear and ego. And that will be driving your creative process instead if we allow it to, right? And so this is really about you taking the reins of your life and really being in that conscious creator that you are. And in order to do that, it's about developing your gifts, activating your gifts, and using them very intentionally and consistently. Okay. And so that is powerful. Yes. Change is growth. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know if there's any questions right now. Let me know if you have any questions right now. I feel like, at this point, I want to share a little bit about, that you can have all these shifts, right? If you're here in a place like this, then you are already aware, right? That's the biggest hurdle, being unconscious to the fact that you have the power to change things. And so knowing that you have the power to change things is huge in and of itself. Let's see. I feel that my connection with my spirit has been purposely blocked. My mother was very worried about me like that. Is that possible? Well, it is, if we allow it. And this is where I can completely understand where you're coming from, because I had that for a long time as well. I think our other people's energy can affect our energy. Absolutely. Right. Especially, you got your mom's worry happening, my mom's fear. I still get my parents' fear. Right. But I'm aware of it, so I can move it out. This is where the energetic boundary is really important, because in truth, no person or entity, with or without a body, can negatively affect you unless you allow it. Now, the caveat to that is, most of the time we're pretty unconscious to it. So if we're unconscious to it, then yes, we're being driven. We're allowing outside forces to affect and drive our actions, right? Or how we feel. But the unconscious part of it is where it gets tricky. As soon as we become conscious, now we can take our power back if we choose. And so when it comes to family, it's about clearing out their energy. So for you, one of the most important things to start with is the energetic situation I talked about, clearing your energy, aligning your energy, and embodying your energy. Because when I recognized before, I wouldn't know it was my family's energy. I'd confuse their fear and doubt about my purpose work with my own. And they're well-meaning. They truly believe, they were worried. They're like, the devil's tricking you. It's not really angels. I'm like, oh, but it is. And actually, Jesus is saying the same thing, but just slightly different perspective, right? And so it's like, in my mind, I could see it all as the same, but they really didn't. And so there's a lot of fear. And there still is, right? And for a long time, that stopped me. But when I learned how to clear my energy and just recognize, oh, that's my mom's energy, boom, guess what? Well, I teach energetic tools. I'll share a little bit about in a minute. But basically, I learned how to clear my energy, align my energy, and recognize that's my mom's energy, is not mine. And it doesn't affect me in the same way. So it's good that you recognize it's your mom's energy, but she doesn't have the power to control you unless you allow it. And how we allow it is by letting their energy fester in our space, and then giving up seniority to them and to that and to their feelings over our own. So it's a form of self-betrayal. And most of the time we don't know we're doing that. And then we got to learn tools how to not do that. Right. But ultimately, once we have the awareness, no outside energy or entity really can affect us. Sometimes, like with family, we might have energy, like codependency patterns or energetic cords. Again, energetic cords happen, but they're plugging into something that's fear-based or guilt-based within our field. in order to be a good mom, I got to give up my energy and put all of my attention towards my kids over my own. That's actually not healthy for anybody, right? That's not true. That's sacrifice. That's, a distorted kind of often comes from religious programming that's a little bit distorted, right? Because we're not really needing to suffer and sacrifice. We don't have to, and I don't believe that we're meant to. And so when we clear that patterning out, their energy cord won't come in. It can't stick. So this is about the peacock energy, right? We're vibrating at a higher frequency and we're not allowing the fear-based energy to come in. We're clearing that out daily. We're recognizing who's our energy and who's our own, clearing other people's energy out, making decisions from our highest truth and path versus other people's expectations or pressure that we might feel, right? Or from our own fear-based pressures and fears and doubts. So it really does come down to that. Oh, thank you so much. You are so right. Oh, you're welcome. Well, good job for recognizing it, because sometimes I think the hardest step is not knowing that it's somebody else's doubt and taking it as our own. And then we're living it in constant doubt, never taking action. So oftentimes it's not even our energy. And so that's why I think that the connection to ourself, meditation, and clearing our energy is the most important first step and something to stay consistent with, because it's very easily to absorb in all of the collective energy around us, right? Doesn't mean that everybody around us has to be fully on the path that we're on. It just means that we're not giving up our power to their belief system over our own, right? So I hope that makes sense. So I want to share, because I do want to do one more exercise at the end for you about decision making and how you're really how you can viscerally tune in out of the mind into your body and decision making that I do. But I want to share first a few minutes. It won't be too long. And then end on that note so that we can end. And then I'll do some clearings about some fears and doubts that you might have seen pop up in the initial meditation we did about your higher path. I think it's fun to end on that energetic high. So I'm going to share just a few minutes about the Soul Success Unleashed program. This is really for sensitives and empaths and awakening light workers who are ready to embody their gifts fully. It's a combination of live and self-study that you get lifetime access to, about healing, about activating your gifts, aligning to your highest timeline, being a conscious creator, and learning energetic mastery tool system that I teach to be the peacock instead of the turtle. And I'm going to share just a little bit about that. So if you have any questions about that, you can share. I'm just going to really quickly add this to the screen here. And then we'll end after that with there. Okay. All right. And then after that, we will go to the last activity. So probably about 20 minutes or so. Okay. All right. So here is there we go. I think we're on how to have two computers here. All right. So the Soul Success Unleashed roadmap. We talked a little bit about these things, but this is something you might want to screenshot. It's kind of a good thing to keep in mind. All of these things, whether you end up taking the Soul Success Unleashed program or not, are going to support you, right? So meditating to be present, clearing your energy, slowing the monkey mind down, releasing anxiety, connecting with your clarity, your focus, all of that. Meditation's huge. Learning to transcend patterns and programming, right? So this is the patterns that we're talking about, the fear-based patterns, whether it's from your own life experiences or your family's fear that's coming in, right? And then simultaneously to that healing, you want to start activating your gifts, start practicing using your intuition, really activating your energy through, I do a lot of high level activations. A lot of people do activations to balance your chakras, to activate your dormant gifts and DNA, which has a lot of connection to your spiritual multidimensional gifts. Strengthening energy boundaries is huge, because that's going to strengthen your connection to your intuition as well. But it's also going to help you know what's yours and what's not yours, so you can make clear decisions and take action in a way that feels aligned for you. And then there's also the power of working in community, being in like-minded community. I know when I first had my awakening, I felt really alone because nobody knew what I was going through. All of a sudden, I started hearing my grandparents talk to me. I started my intuition came on, my angels were talking to me. I was like, oh my gosh, I had no one to talk to about it. So getting plugged in, I have a free Facebook community. If you're not already a part of it, we have just over 40,000 light workers and sensitive empaths on their awakening journey. It's called Soul Aligned Leaders Collective on Facebook, or got my YouTube here. Lots of ways to stay connected. Many, many beautiful groups out there, but stay connected, or in a meetup group in person, right? Being in a group energy of other people that get it doesn't mean we have to lose all of our friends, although some people do fade away. It just means you need to have somebody that relates to what you're going through, right? Or it'll feel really lonely, and that can make it feel depressing or isolating or just reverting back. Okay. So let me know if that makes sense. And so that's really all of those things is core pillars of the Soul Success Unleashed program. This is a 3-month online course with some live support from me as well. And this is going to support you in building your confidence, trusting your spiritual gifts, amplifying your intuition to move through your blocks, become a conscious creator, and just navigate with more ease, joy, and confidence. And here's just a quick breakdown of what we'll do. These come out each week in weekly modules of video trainings, activation journeys, chakra activations, DNA activations, and workbooks. So each week you get a new module. And then once a month, we have a Q&A call, as well as a private Facebook group. You can ask questions in between. Let's see. So the first 2 weeks is when we do the Energetic Mastery Foundation tools. So this is a series of meditation tools that I promise, even if you're somebody who has a monkey mind, what's cool about these tools is it's not just like you have to get quiet. You will get quiet eventually, but this is about, it gives you tools to focus on. So if you're a person that has like hard time slowing the mind down, what's great about this is it gives you a focus, and it amplifies your ability to ground your energy, work with universal energy as a way to clear your energy. I teach you my crystalline silhouette tool, which is like helping you to elevate like the peacock and hold that energy frequency as a protection tool in an elevated sense. You'll learn how to create communication tools with others, consciously create. There's a really powerful process, and it has a jumpstart meditation and a long, like 11 or 12 minutes, and then a 25-minute intention setting. So that each day you can listen to one of those until you start to learn the tools for yourself. And those tools are meant to support you throughout your waking day, not just while you're meditating. But the idea is that you're using these grounding tools and clearing and protection tools throughout your waking day, which then you're going to manifest with so much more ease. You'll be connected and feeling good, not just when you have a healing, right? Not just when you get home and listen to a healing or work with your crystals or oils. I love all of that. But the reality is, if you rely on an outside tool like that, whatever it might be, 95% of your life, you'll be miserable. So this is about, how do you get to walk through life grounded, aligned, and embodied with your higher self? This is essentially how you toggle up the vibrational scale on your ascension journey. And it will naturally start to open your intuition and help you not be overwhelmed by other people's energy. So that's where we start the first 2 weeks. And then we go into learning, setting your energy for intentions. Each week you'll have a DNA activation and or a chakra activation of the 5D and above chakras. So your earth stars beneath your feet, when you activate that, it really helps you to ground even stronger, working with your root chakra and the earth, which is really powerful. And then you start to learn advanced reading tools and processes, so that you can learn how to do readings on yourself and others. So this, what becomes very important is, this is how you start to learn to read your blocks, your fears, your patterns and programming from this lifetime, from your family, from other lifetimes, right? You'll start to learn to identify those root blocks that we were talking about and clear them out, right? There's a clear and transmute tool that I teach you in the first 2 weeks to help clear out other people's energy. Your mom's anxiety, clear it out. You know, there's some powerful tools to help you walk through life as a sensitive in an empowered way. And when you do that, it actually starts to open up your intuition. And so now we actively start to learn how to do readings for yourself and others. Now, some people will take this process and actually go start charging and doing readings as a part of their purpose work and healing work. You absolutely can do that. But first and foremost, this is for you. I use these tools to ground the energy of my business, of my life, to clear the blocks that I have, and to keep moving forward. That's why I think my success is so consistent and has been so expansive in a relatively, it seems like a short time to a lot of people, right? It can move very quickly because I'm working the energy, right? I'm not allowing fear to drive things, right? I'm able to move through it. And it's using these same tools. Then you're also going to learn, you'll get, again, the root chakra, navel chakra, expanded chakra. Then there's some supplemental energy about teaching you how we'll do reading exchanges, because at this point you can start to, this is optional, but highly recommended, to practice these reading tools with other people, because you have to practice the muscle. You have to practice the muscle in order to develop your gifts really to these next levels. And so in that practice session, two things happen. You're cultivating your gift because you have a safe space to practice. You don't deserve you don't owe anybody a fabulous reading, though you will learn to give fabulous readings. What's also happening is you attract the person, because law of attraction, like attracts like, that has the same blocks as you. And it's so much easier to read the energy in other people than yourself. And so you'll start to attract the person in the reading exchange that you're going to start to see the block that you have in them that you couldn't see in yourself. And then you get to clear it together, and then vice versa. So you really start to take ownership of your healing path. You start to accelerate your ascension journey in a big way with much more confidence and being able to identify and clear these things. And then you start to work through a deactivate and elevate. So this is a healing tool that I give you. You can use this for yourself and others. You're going to start to identify and clear. We're going to do a whole module on family patterns, clearing ancestral line patterns and programming, embodying your gifts, and learning how to read the layers of an aura. Some of you may have seen me read auras before. Some of you may have not, but yeah, that's something that's really powerful as well. And then you get another activation for your solar plexus, heart, and high heart. And then we're going to do a spiritual growth integration method. So this is really great when you feel stuck. This is a tool that I teach, that when you feel stuck in your energy or overwhelmed, this is the tools that you'll want to grab and help you process these growths and integrate the energy shifts, right? That's important, because you can't keep expanding if you don't embody and integrate the energetic shift. Energetic shift happens immediately, but we have to embody it through our mental, emotional, and physical body to really be anchored in as the new normal. And then the Christ light healing, you get attuned to. That's a really powerful healing tool as well. Maybe I'll use that today for you in just a moment. And then actually, I'll probably use both of the tools today. The deactivate and elevate for the fears and programming that came up for you in the meditation, or that's holding you back from your higher path. And then I'll run the Christ light healing as well. And you'll get to experience how those feel. And you can use those for your children, your pets, or clients. You're going to work with your spiritual support team. We do a whole activation series module on that, accessing the Akashic records and your soul gifts, right? Which is really powerful. And then reading empowered and karmic lifetimes. This is, again, sometimes where the root cause will lie. And then there's some bonuses there around getting certainty of your intuition as well. And like I said, how it goes, you get 10 video pre-recorded training modules. And most of those modules have 2, sometimes 3 trainings in them, but they are all delivered each week in a module for that topic. It will have 3 live Q&A calls to answer your questions in a private group that you can ask questions in anytime between times. You're going to get some supplemental reading demonstrations to help you learn how to implement the tools. Again, you get the training on the certainty of your intuition. And after we've moved so much energy, I like to align to your highest timeline again. There's 16 different alignment activations for deep healing. Energetic tune-ups each week that are also short energetic support for each week as well. So this is helping you on your ascension journey in a big way. And you'll get 3 months access to the Sapphire Circle. This is really where the live calls come in. Sometimes I'll answer the calls through in between times if there's a lot of them, like through a video, or we also have a whole library of resources we can direct you to. Monthly themes to be helping your spiritual growth, the reading exchange sessions. There's actually, we promised 3 a week. We only ask, we suggest you do 1 a week, but you'll get your success with that. But we've been hosting 5 to hit all the different time zones. You can come to as many as you want, but our hope is to have at least 1 reading exchange that you can practice your tools with. And then we have a catalog of other Q&A calls to get more support. I mean, this goes on and on with the amount of support that you get. We have a whole conscious creator on-demand vault with 31 modules of content that has things like abundance, or how to move through a retrograde period, how to align your body, mind, and soul, working with self-love. There's different spiritual topics, basically. So it's like a built-in healing library. I loved this from Cheryl. She said before taking the Soul Success Unleashed program, she didn't trust her intuitions or messages and doubted her abilities as a healer. And after the program, she's able to trust that and call on her spiritual support team for guidance. And as a result, she feels more confident, connected, and grounded to the work she does in her life and business. The practices and practice sessions were helpful and validating from what I was learning, and I would absolutely recommend the course because I have confidence in all the tools I learned from SSU. And here's the other thing. I just saw a post from her today, actually. She's just taken off like wildfire. Like she's doing retreats and leading programs. And she just said that I just saw a post where she's downloaded a new modality, a healing modality that she's going to be using for people. So that is so exciting. And that's the kind of things that happen with people that graduate. Charging for readings for the first ones, it's very exciting. And you don't have to want a business to do this. This is for your own healing journey first. But the side benefit is you can use these tools in your service work if you feel called. So you also get some bonuses, the Energetic Masteries $497, extra 2 Q&A call recordings, and intuition activation. This is like a whole healing library of built-in information about the chakras, how to know when you're in and out of balance with your chakras, as well as a chakra clearing. So you can use that. And these things are the core content is lifetime access. The only thing that's only 3 months is anything that's the live Sapphire Circle. Okay. And so today we have a special offer for 1 week only until May 13th. And that is a savings of $500 plus all the bonuses worth $39.50. And you will get, oops, I'm not to that one. There we go. So it is on special for $16.97, which is $600 off actually of the full tuition. I sell this program year round on my website. So people do pay full price and get the great value. But periodically I like to run a special. So it's $16.97 or as low as $159 per month. However, I have recently added Klarna to my checkout page. So Klarna and Affirm, and those show as low as $85 a month. Now, of course, that's not available in all countries. I think Canada and UK, maybe not, but in most countries it is available, and that will be determined by you. So I can't determine the price, but what I can see is that they're offering as low as $85, and I've had people sign up that way. So that is what I have there. So if that is something interesting of you, I will share the information for you. And then we're going to finish off with our activation. Joining SSU is one of the best decisions I ever made. Oh, thank you, Christy. I love that. I don't see anything to screenshot. Did you guys not see the screen show that whole time? Let me know if you guys saw the screen show on Zoom. Oh my gosh, I wish you guys told me. That's so weird. Okay, I was doing a slideshow the whole time because sometimes I think doing it that way is visually. That's so weird. On my end, it showed it was showing. Okay, well, my apologies on that, but that is there. I'll share the page with you, and then you'll be able to see everything there. Okay, let me give that to you really quick. That's so odd. I don't know why it did a slideshow on my end, but not for you guys. You can never tell with technology, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to share that link, and then we're going to do our last final clearing and activation, and I'm going to teach you that tool that I wanted to very quickly. I have to find my page really quick. I can't believe that. Yeah. Next time, if anybody's on there, I do a webinar. If it's not showing, tell me. Because oh, you didn't know? You didn't know? Oh my gosh, I thought I said I'm going to show you a screen. Okay, I'll be more clear. I've just never had it not show on Zoom. It always just shows. But that's the page, so you can see everything I just went over there. And then I think all of you guys on YouTube, and I hear some negative voices sometimes, and those earthbound spirits. Yes, I mean that. So this is about clearing your energy. It just means that you're really tapped in, with your intuition, which can be good. But you just need to clear your energy, right? You need to clear your energy so you don't have to tap into that energy, and then raising your vibration. So really the program that I'm sharing would be beneficial for you. Because that's what we do. You learn energy mastery tools, clearing tools, and that's really what's happening is you need to clear your energy and then move out the root cause of why they're coming in and protect your energy, and then you won't have that issue, right? Because they're coming through your telepaths. Well, there you go. Everything's on that page. Okay. Everything is on that page. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the activation. I still don't know why that didn't work. That's so bizarre. Mystery. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our activation journey. Okay. And first, I want to talk about just an exercise and then we'll kind of walk through it. So, really quickly, how I do this a lot for making decisions. And this is literally stepping into a bubble of a timeline bubble, if you will. You can do it standing or you can just do it sitting in your meditation. We'll do it sitting in our meditation today. But you can also do it by, like, sometimes when I'm just standing here, if I have a decision to make, like and I usually ask a decision, not so much yes, no, because we always have free will of choice, but more like, as an example, this program, right? And this is something I've done it for. So is this program or is this retreat or is this job, right? Some decision. Is this house that I'm looking at purchasing? Is this actually going to align me with my higher path and purpose? Is this going to be aligned with my highest potential, right? Something in that phase. And I'm standing in what's neutral where I'm at. And then I'll step into the timeline, the energetic bubble. I'll imagine a bubble that's aligned, like see a line of communication, a golden path, right? That's the path of saying yes to that opportunity. And I just stand in it and feel. For me, and your body might be different. So you have to get to learn, like, what is your body's, because your body is a divination tool. And sometimes when we can't get out of our head or our mind and we're trying to logic our way through things, this can be a powerful way to just step into that. Yes, I'm stepping into that. Does that feel aligned? Is this in my highest potential? And just notice, now for me, I'll feel more expansive. I'll feel more light and open. Like I'll feel my energy expand. And then I'll say, what if, saying no to this opportunity or saying yes to a different opportunity, whatever it might be. And then you step into that timeline of that decision and start to feel, what does it feel like? Just take a step energetically in each direction. And for me, I'll start to feel kind of a closedness. Now, some people feel it in their gut, some people in their heart, some people in their whole body. Your barometer is going to feel different. So that's something you have to play with. But that is a really great tool that I've used lots of times, especially when the fear and the doubt and the logic is getting in the way of me really tapping into what is most highest in line for me. And so we can kind of play with that if you want to, if you have something just to kind of feel that difference. And then I'm going to run a couple of clearing activations, the deactivate and elevate tool, to help you clear some of the fears and doubts that might have come up either through our time together or that you have in general that you want to release. And then we will run a Christ light healing, which is another tool that you get attuned to in the program to clear your energy and your aura and your chakras, and then just anchor in. So it won't be too long, but I wanted to walk you through that as well, because I think this will be really powerful. So take a second to just close your eyes. And take a few nice deep breaths first into your body and into your heart. And feel that nice expansion on the rise and fall of your chest. And exhale. Another nice deep breath in. And exhale. Now just take a moment to feel that grounded connection to the earth. So you might feel the earth beneath your feet. You can imagine a grounding cord or beam of light or a tree or a waterfall, whatever you want to do to feel that connection from your root chakra at your tailbone all the way into the earth. Really helping you to ground your energy and really support you with helping you release and let go of whatever's not serving you, that you're ready to let go of. And taking a moment to invite in that conscious connection with your higher self, with your angels of guides and the highest of light for you. And that connection with Source directly. And just creating that clear, open connection. I actually feel like I want to start with the Christ light healing to help clear your energy so that you can get into this activity of feeling into the two timelines with a clear space. So I'm going to run the Christ light healing activation. And if you'd like to receive this, you can say yes in your mind. It's a healing frequency. And my intention is just to support you in just clearing your aura, clearing your chakras, and helping you just align even more with your higher self and embody your energy. Beautiful. So from this space, if you have a decision, you can use an example of making a decision, or we can simply keep it more general of what does it feel like to step into alignment with my highest path and purpose versus what does it feel like to be out of alignment, right? Taking a step in the direction of misalignment. And that will just give you the perspective of what your barometer feels like. So you can use a decision or more neutral. Okay, so just imagine that right now you're sitting in a neutral position. Right now it's just you, connection to your higher self, to the earth. And I want you to now imagine either something about your decision, if you're making a decision between two things, or just the step to your left into the energetic bubble of just aligning with your highest potential, right? Your highest path and potential. And just feeling, what does that look like? Right? And you can imagine bringing that bubble to you, right? And the bubble can move to you, or you can imagine stepping into it, however works best. And just feel the sensation in your bodies and just notice, what does this energy feel like stepping into even deeper alignment, taking an action towards the alignment towards your higher path or purpose? Now, the idea is to not be thinking, but sometimes our mind, as soon as we feel, this is in my higher path and I'm afraid, like the mind will sometimes go, but try to bypass the mind and just feel your body. And maybe you get another signal. Maybe you hear something. Maybe you feel or see, right? Just notice any of your senses, what you see, feel, hear, or know. When you step in the direction of something that's aligned for your higher path and purpose. All right, so now step back into neutral, or imagine that we're stepping out of that bubble. Got that clear neutral position again. And now you're going to either put your other decision, if you're doing an actual choice, or choosing something that is not, like taking an action towards something that is a opposite of your alignment, right? That is not aligned for your higher path and purpose. And step into that. And just see if you can be aware of the contrast of how those two spaces feel. Does the energy feel more contracted? Do you get a certain signal? See, feel, hear, know on an intuitive level. I encourage you to really tune into the body, because it's so nice when your body can be trained as a divination tool for you, because it bypasses the mind and the logic and the fears that can be louder than your intuition. And now let's step back into neutral, just kind of move ourselves out of that bubble. And just for contrast, let's go back one more time into either if you did a decision or just the bubble that's aligning to your higher path and purpose. And in that contrast, do you feel or sense a difference? Beautiful. All right, you can come back to neutral now. And now I'm going to run the deactivate and elevate tool. If you'd like to receive, you just say yes in your mind. I'm always just sending to the higher self. And the intention is you can set your own intention. If there's a specific fear or doubt or limitation or feeling that you want to clear, right? Or if you want to let go of. If you're aware of what it is, you can, or just even having the intention of clearing what's in the way of you aligning with your higher path and purpose if you don't know. And of course, no spiritual tool can bypass what you're ready for. So you're just going to be releasing what you're ready to let go of. And I'm just going to read a little bit of the energy I see off the collective group energy. And I see a lot of energy off the crown chakra, definitely family and other people's energy. Doesn't necessarily look nefarious, like intentionally, just other people's expectations and demands. Also see a lot of fear moving off of the clairvoyant space, like the fear of seeing the future or fear of the unknown. And then a lot of energy specifically off the back and neck and head. This is where we are housing a lot of, on an energy level, our family patterns and programming from our parents and from our other lifetimes as well. So it's almost like a whole area from your neck and head is just opening up, lightening up. And then the other two areas I see some around the throat chakra, around speaking truth, and the solar plexus, about being able to surrender and trust, like releasing some kind of either power struggle or need to control. Sometimes we don't realize we're trying to control the outcome out of fear. So this is about trusting and surrendering to the process. And just see your root chakra now being able to ground more into your body. It's like as this energy has been releasing through your field, you're able to ground and be more present in your body. So I'll run the Christ light healing one more time. If you'd like to receive that, just as again, a little chakra balancing, because I saw a lot of energy clearing. Beautiful. Just allowing that to move throughout your whole aura, your physical body. And from here, just take a moment to ask, is there a next step? What next step or message does either your higher self or your angels and guides have for you today? What message or next step does your angels or guides or higher self have for you today? And just trust what thoughts, feelings, or ideas come to you. Beautiful. So when you feel complete, you can just start to focus your energy on your breath and your heart. Just imagine filling yourself up. Just imagine you're integrating with your higher self. Just putting your awareness on the rise and fall of your chest, on your body. Bringing all of your attention and awareness back into the here and now moment. And when you feel complete, you can open your eyes. All right, so how was that for you? Why do I always see a closed door in front of me when I close my eyes? It could definitely be something rooted in fear, like simplicity wise, right? Without doing a reading, I wouldn't know exactly what your block is, but it's like things are either based in fear or love. Love is expansion, expansive, right? So you wouldn't be hiding. So it's probably something you're afraid of. What I did notice when I was doing the clearing was there was some fear around people's third eye, fear of seeing the future, fear of, if you have a lot of religious programming, it could be, oh, this the devil's work? Is this wrong? Or fear of seeing something bad happen. I know I used to have a fear of seeing something bad happen, right? So some level of fear about using your clairvoyance, right? Which is part of your imagination, it's part of your intuition, it's part of how we create the future. But it could be coming from either a literal fear or programming that says it's not okay to use your gift, right? Which isn't true, but yeah, a lot of us have that. Or it could definitely be a fear that you have about, like, if I see my future, I see my purpose work, or if I see the truth, because this is also, our clairvoyance is about seeing a truth from a lie, right? Spiritual truth from ego's lie. If there's a fear about what you'll see, then, oh, if I see that, then I'll have to take action. I'll have to say something to my boss, or I'll have to leave this relationship, or I'll have to do something that's outside of my comfort zone, right? If I see my purpose work, then I'll have to actually go public speak. Right? That's how I felt. So for a long time, I couldn't see. I didn't know what my purpose was, right? And so there's different reasons, but I hope that helps. The center of my head was tight during the meditation. I tried to relax, and then things opened up. Awesome. Yeah, I saw, I mean, there's just so much healing in this whole space. First, other people's energy, then the fear around the clairvoyance, and then the all the energy there from the family patterns programming. All right, thank you. It does help. Thank you. Many blessings. Oh, you're so welcome. I'm glad that was helpful. If you feel called to check out the program, check it out. You can feel free to also reach out via email. We'll definitely be sharing the replay of this as well. And if you go on the page, you'll be able to see the screen of like the things I talked about and broke down. So my apologies for Zoom people on that. I don't know why. I showed it was working on my end, but technology is fickle sometimes. But that sometimes I know visually seeing things can be helpful. So I hope that was supportive. Thank you for the information. Much appreciated. Much love. Your energy is filled with light. Thank you. You're so welcome, Marcy and Christine. I appreciate that. I'm glad that this was helpful. And I will, Facebook, I can't always see all of the comments, but I'll come back and check them afterwards. So again, thank you for being here with me. I hope this was helpful. I look forward to hearing how this continues to support you, and we'll talk again soon. All right. Bye for now.